Hi everyone, Chris here with Clutter Reduction Junk Removal, and if you are looking to get into the field of junk removal, especially doing this solo, then stay tuned throughout this video. I'm going to be including a couple of clips of a job we did earlier, along with some tips for you to help you along your journey. Some of the things to watch out for, some of the things to be prepared for, along with some equipment tips, and then I'll go ahead and throw up a list of videos you can check out that'll help you move your general item from time to time, so that you have an idea of what to do when you run into certain situations. So first thing we're going to do is drop off the trailer, and I'm going to show you a couple of the pieces of equipment I like to use and how they can benefit your job. Now, before we talk about equipment, let's talk about the obvious: truck, trailer, what kind of vehicle you should have. I have two trailers and I have a pickup truck. Now, it's pretty common knowledge of if you have a pickup truck, you could do junk removal, you could do deliveries, you could do scrapping, you could do a lot of things with a pickup truck. But not everyone has one, and you may want to get into junk removal for other reasons other than having a pickup truck and seeing the titles everywhere, make $1,000 a day with a pickup truck. Could you do that with a pickup truck? Of course. Do you need one of your own? No, you don't. When I started my business, I used U-Hauls. I would rent one when I had a job ready or lined up, so I'm not wasting money, and I would get a truck based on the size of job I was heading into, whether I was getting an actual pickup truck or a cargo van, a 10-foot truck, 15-foot truck, 26-foot truck. I got what I needed. But U-Haul is pretty cheap when it comes to pickup trucks. You can also get the flatbed trucks from Home Depot. I don't like Home Depot because it's a first come, first based service. So if your job comes in at 9 o'clock and you get there at 9:30 to get a truck, there is a good chance it may not be available. With U-Haul, you could reserve them ahead of time. You can go on your app and look at them all around your area to see who has one available. And they're pretty cheap to rent. You do pay mileage and you do pay for the truck itself and insurance if you choose to, but it's still pretty cheap. I think it's 20 bucks for a truck. I think the insurance is $10 unless it's gone up with inflation. Mileage is probably 59 cents, 69 cents a mile, depending on where you are. But they usually get pretty good gas mileage. They're usually either Dodge Rams or they are Silverados, which are both pretty good vehicles. Now, I mentioned the rental truck route because not everyone has a pickup truck and they're not the cheapest to buy, even used. Now, everyone has $10K to go drop on a used truck. Not everybody is able to finance a $50,000 new pickup truck. They are very versatile, they are very known for commercial work, therefore they are very expensive. And they're not the cheapest to maintain. An oil change on my truck, if I were to go somewhere, is $127. I do my own oil because it's a lot cheaper. My tires were about $300 a piece. Any kind of repairs you get done on it costs hundreds, if not thousands. So there are things to keep in mind when it comes to vehicle equipment. But if you are able to, I would recommend getting a trailer. You don't have to start off right away with a dump trailer. You can get a little utility trailer and build size on it like I did. My other one has an aluminum build, a little bit nicer looking, but it costs a little bit more as well, and it's pretty lightweight. But you can go get a little dinky trailer. You can buy one used on Facebook for probably $2,000 or less, or you can just go buy one brand new for like $3,000 or less. You don't have to start off with a fancy heavy-duty dump trailer. But the bigger vehicle you can get, the more junk you can haul at a time, which means the more you can charge. And you're able to handle at once versus having to go back and forth and make extra trips. I would mention not to get too large of a vehicle though. You don't want to go get like a 26-foot box truck and be showing up to pick up a single couch. It's going to cost you a lot of money to use that big old truck to be picking up a few things here and there. But if you have a big enough job, it could definitely be worthwhile. But most times junk removal are on the smaller side of jobs. Now, once you get past the vehicle equipment, the next step is actual equipment for the moving portion. Now, when it comes to junk removal and moving in general, I don't care how strong you are, you're not going to want to handle everything with your hands. You're going to want to use equipment. And you could do everything with your hands if you want to. Why? Why? As skinny as I am, I would consider myself to be rather strong. and I wouldn't handle stuff with my hands if I didn't have to. So use equipment to make your lives a little easier, a little bit more doable. safer for you and safer for the property around you. So let's go over the 3 main things I would recommend somebody to use for junk removal, especially if you are solo. Number 1, the infamous hand truck. Very standard. If you have a preference, stick with it. If you don't and you're looking for recommendations, I would recommend any hand truck basically that has this style handle at least. The ones that have the knobs that go straight out, they can be hard with handling. The ones that go like this, they can be tricky when you have a piece leaning against it and you can't grab your fingers around it. I would also recommend you get larger tires versus the little thin guys and try to get carefree so you don't have to worry about it going flat on you. Other than that, all options are open. You can get a decent hand truck for probably anywhere between 50 to 70 bucks. They can definitely be found cheaper, but to get one with everything I just recommended, I would say you're looking at least 50 to 70, probably closer to 100. If you want the top of the line brands, I would argue that Milwaukee is probably it, but I got this from a moving distribution. If you happen to be in South Florida, Chris Loppy Moving Supplies is in Pompano Beach. Check them out. Next up is a dolly. Everybody's next favorite piece of equipment. Again, you can get these pretty much anywhere for as little as 20 bucks, but here's the thing. You want to make sure you get good caster wheels. These are 3.5-inch hard rubber caster wheels. The problem with the little dinky ones from Home Depot and Walmart that are a little plastic and they're like this big is that they don't do well with getting over cracks. They don't do good on terrain of anything that isn't concrete or smooth. And overall, they're not gonna handle weight as appropriately as something like this. So get something with good casters to help you out in the situations. I would say to try to get something with at least a 600-pound capacity, which is most pieces of equipment. Other than that, nothing else really too fancy about it. And then the third thing, this is something that not a lot of junk haulers have, and even moving companies don't all have these. These are called mattress bars. It is a rectangular black bar with a hook, and you would use it to hook onto the dolly like so. They just hook right on in. And now you can stick a heavy mattress in there. You can stick a granite table, a large glass top, a bunch of pictures, a bunch of wood, a bunch of drywall pieces, anything that you could fit between this 22-inch width, and it can sit on both ends of the dolly. You can now just pull. So like that big old heavy king mattress in there, that's floppy as hell and a pain in the ass to move, guess what I did? I slapped it right in the middle of that and rolled it out to my trailer. Those big bed pieces, I have you on 0.5 zoom right now. These big stupid things, even though they're particle board, they weigh hundreds of pounds. Yeah, that's a pain in the ass to move through a house in tight spaces. Guess what? I put it on there. It's like I'm pulling around a little wagon. Easy. These, a little bit more specialty. You're gonna have to buy these online on Amazon. You may get something similar, but it's probably not gonna be the exact same model. You can get these from moving supply stores. They are not as cheap. You can get some of them for about 75 bucks for the pair. Otherwise, if you get ones like mine from a moving company, they're probably gonna be closer to $70 a piece. And they honestly last for almost ever. The only time they really start to break down is you will start to notice over time, these will start to get wider, which means that they're gonna wanna bend more on the dolly in this kind of direction. Like you see all that flexion, that's just for me over time using these and prying them apart. Over time, they will start to get like that. It can become an issue eventually. They're pretty hard to bend back, so you're gonna have to just use it until you need to get new ones. But these 3 pieces alone, I would argue, can get done the majority of your jobs. You get a garbage can and toss it in the mix, boom, you have everything you need. Now, when you want to become more efficient, there are other things you can get. I am going to include a video at the end of this talking about equipment in better detail, where I talk about a few more additional items that you can use and that you can use in addition to things like the hand truck, like a ratchet strap, or using the Speed Paks, which if you've seen me before, you know I talked about. They're a big open cardboard box. Use it to put a bunch of stuff into so you can minimize your trips out to your truck. So these 3 items alone, everybody should have. junk removal on your own, there are some things you need to keep in mind. Number one, accept the fact that you are in fact by yourself, and you're gonna run into jobs that you just can't fucking do safely without causing damage, or just do at all. I've had some pieces that I just can't freaking move on my own. With all of my experience and knowledge and strength and skill set, shit ain't going nowhere. And guess what? I either find somebody for those jobs, or ahead of time I would tell the customer, hey, I've been a mover for 6 years. I've been a lot of places. I've dealt with a lot of pieces. I'm not comfortable moving this in your general situation. I'm going to recommend you to somebody else. Be honest. I guarantee you somebody will respect you more for being honest up front than trying to do something that you're going to cause significant damage and or hurt yourself in the process. So something you need to keep in mind. I had somebody ask me once, how do I know when I'm getting into ahead of time if I don't see pictures of it? I personally ask as many questions as possible. I have a pretty general idea. I've been into thousands of homes and apartments and storage units, and I've dealt with thousands and thousands of pieces of furniture. I've probably moved over 1,000+ couches just in my moving career alone, not even mentioning junk removal, and I've handled them all twice. And I've dealt with thousands of dressers. I've dealt with thousands of tables and thousands of just everything in repetition. And I ask questions. I ask, is it a sleeper sofa? Is it a regular couch? Is it a recliner? Is it a love seat? Is it a 3-seater? Is it a sectional couch? Is it in a bedroom, or is it out in the living room with an open floor plan? Is it upstairs? Are your stairs a straight shot, or do they go down and turn and then go back the opposite way? Those are important things to know. If you can ask about the overall apartment, are you in an apartment? Do you have stairs? Do you have an elevator? You know, things like that can make and break the difference between being able to do something on your own and not. And then make sure you're asking questions about the pieces. Hey, if you're able to send me a picture, that'd be awesome. It just gives me a better idea of what I'm getting into. If not, I can always come by and take a look at it. But for the most part, people will let you know if they have something that was a problem before. Like, I have people that will say, hey, so I have this secretary desk. The movers had a real hard time getting it inside of the office. It's probably going to be hard to get back out. Good. That's good information to know. I'm going to wonder why that was the case. And my first instinct is to think, well, can I take it apart? Can I take the door off? Anything you can do to make something a little bit smaller, you know, that should be your go-to. If you can pop the feet off, if you can take off the top, if you can do a couple of screws to break it apart into pieces. You don't want to sit there and smash something up in somebody's office, because most people are expecting you to donate things, whether you can or not. Try not to, you know, go overboard right off the back. But if you needed to, you need to. But there are questions to be asked to know what you're getting into. It is a much different story of having two professional movers move a 3-seater couch that's a sleeper sofa into a tight-ass little hallway with a low ceiling and a light right above the door, and being able to maneuver it in and spend a half hour doing it, and the customer not realizing how much of a pain in the ass that was because they were just watching, and you to come back and do it by yourself. Huge difference. So things like that you want to know as much as possible, so you don't get there and look stupid when you can't do the job. It can be very embarrassing. I've had situations where luckily I was able to figure it out eventually, but it's annoying to look at a piece and say, yeah, I should be able to do it. And then as you're doing it, you start to realize why it was going to be an issue. Luckily, I'm able to work around a lot of those issues, but I can tell you right now, it's embarrassing sometimes when you're wrong and you're confident. And that's something you need to be, is confident. So if you're going to be doing this stuff solo, you're going to be getting asked questions. You're going to be getting wandering eyes. It happens every single time. I've been doing this for 4 years. I've been doing the moving for 5 or 6 prior to that. I have had plenty of circumstances where I go to a job and I show up by myself and they're looking around like, is your other guy coming? Oh, no, it's just me. Like, oh, are you going to be able to do this? Oh, it's a big piece. Yeah, I've done this before. They're just taking my word off of it. They have no idea who I am. They're not watching my YouTube channel, at least I hope not. You know, they don't know anything about me other than I'm just saying, yeah, I should be able to do it. To the average person, that's a hard task. You know, they don't know those things. They hire other people. They don't think about it. I've had some people in good shape that are physically like, oh, I'll give you a hand. And I'm like, please don't. Honestly, you're going to cause more liability than anything else. So you're going to get asked those questions. You need to be confident about that stuff, which is why I mentioned you need to know what you're walking into ahead of time. You don't want to go somewhere and say, yeah, I can do that, and then you fuck up. And it's not even like like it fell apart on me, like how am I supposed to predict that? It's more like, yeah, you thought you could do it, and instead you cut the corner too hard and took off a corner of the drywall, like a good chunk of it. Or God forbid you hit a damn glass wall and you shatter the whole thing. Those things are like $2,000 to repair. You don't want to be doing that kind of stuff. You can go buy a new trailer with that amount of money. There are circumstances you need to protect yourself from, and knowing what to do, how to do it safely, is honestly going to make or break that whole situation. So I'm not going to get into the business side of this video. I have other videos talking about that. There's other great channels out there: Sonoma Strongholding, Jedi Junk Removal. Actually, I think it's under Andrew Thompson. There's a few channels out there where they talk about tips in their day two, and you know, the things they've done to kind of help build their business up. Check them out. Honestly, just type in junk removal. You're probably going to find a few other people that just pop up just out of popularity. Check out all their videos. Watch different people to learn how people do things a little bit differently. But for the most part, it's a pretty straightforward concept. It's just knowing how to do the job itself, honestly. Everything else that's more businessy, you're just going to have to kind of learn and, you know, trial and error, basically. But hopefully this gave you at least some insight. As I mentioned, I'm going to have at the end a playlist. I'm gonna literally put together videos for this video specifically, and I'll have it tagged in the description, and it'll have a list of how to move videos. It'll have how to use these type of tools for different techniques. It'll have, you know, how to get like a couch that's too tall to get into an elevator without hitting the wall behind you, how to do that, or how to get through a tight doorway, or, you know, how to get a bigger dresser out of a guest bedroom when you have a hallway and it's like a diversion. How can you get it out when you're going on an angle, you end up hitting the other side before you're even through the door? You know, those are all things you need to learn to be able to handle when you don't have somebody else to just grab the other side. And it's 100% doable. I use a helper on, I would say out of every 10 to 15 jobs, I have help with me once. And more than often, it's usually help of either more for time purposes, or once in a while it's something I'm just a little uneasy about. And I could probably do it myself, honestly, but if my helper is available and it only costs me 50 to 100 bucks for that peace of mind, honestly, at this point, I just take it. But back in the day, I very rarely used help, and I was more than often doing these things by myself. Even if I was uncomfortable with it, I just kind of winged it. But again, that could have its pros and cons. So I hope this video gets you guys some insight. And if you have the time, check out this playlist. I'm gonna basically run through all of my videos. I think I have like 300 videos. I'm gonna run through them all and put the ones I think will be good to have. And I think they'll serve a great purpose if you're looking to do the solo. So that is gonna be it for me. We are going to go clean out our garage because I just got 2 cabinets off this previous job that I want to implement to hold all my supplies so it looks a little bit nicer in there. And I will see you all next time. Bye.